This lesson is all about headcount. We're going to revisit First, we're going to review our revenue drivers. We see our first one here as a quantity. Okay, I briefly mentioned rates, so we're going to go back to the rate web form that I downloaded by clicking Review Employee Rates, and you can see the rates by job level and geography. We also have our benefits section here, the bonus, and the attrition rates. So this headcount attrition calculation is based on a 13% attrition rate. Okay, with that as background, it's now time to adjust and plan for our headcount. Assuming we believe the notional headcount is realistic and accurate, we need to add 97 heads to get to that notional headcount. So here's where you do it. Unhide these rows, and remember you can data enter any cell that is yellow. Make a decision on how you want to balance those 97 heads based on the job code, which also drives your wages. So we'll just keep it real simple and say we want 30 here in the US, 30 here in the US, and 30 here. So that gives me 90 of the 97, and we'll just say 5 A1s in the US as well, and I'm now going to hit submit. The nice thing about hitting submit on this form is the ending head count is updated. I still need to run a calculation to get the wages, but this at least helps me with my math. Now I'm too short. I'm going to hire temps. I'll show you how to deal with that later. Now because I want to demonstrate the effect, I'm going to go to my Input and Adjust web form, which I already opened, and take a look at the current wages and salaries, bonus, benefits, and temporary personnel expense, and let me slide over to 2017 and look at August, which is the month that we are forecasting and planning for. So I've made my hires for August, and now I'm going to submit my calculation. Okay, the calculation is completed successfully. Let's jump over to our adjustment screen and see the results. So this adjustment web form is where we can manually make some adjustments. So we need to scroll down a bit to see the calculated wages. So notice this was the actuals from the past, and we added a whole bunch of heads in our forecast here, in our plan I should say. So there's the dollar amount, benefits, and nothing on bonus or temporary personnel expense. So let's go back to our headcount web form and let's add some temps. I'm going to unhide this row. This section. I come down here and I see my headcount for temps. Now for temps, we just have a geography. So let's say we're going to, we'll just say we are going to hire 2 in the US and submit the form. Okay, so now my ending head count is 130, which is the same as my notional. I'm going to swing over here to the adjustment and see that my temporary expenses are 0 at the moment, so we're going to deal with that next. So to get the expenses for our temps, I'm going to open up the expense driver workbook. And I'm going to do a Control F on temp, and I'm down here in the temporary personnel expense account. Now notice this account already has a driver 1 with a 12-month average, and I've set up a second driver that is based, the type is, it's an existing account, and I'm going to select the account. The account that I've selected is Headcount Temp US. Remember, that's where we put these guys, Headcount Temp US. Now we have the ability to set the rate for our temps at anything we want. In this case, we have $4,300. Jumping back to the adjustment web form, we see that our temporary personnel expense is blank. So let's submit a calculation, and we should get our temp account updated with the correct amount. Okay, our calculation is complete, so we'll jump over to our adjustment window and see what the results look like. As soon as I do a refresh, okay, I have to scroll around just a little bit, but here's the month of August, and here are our temporary personnel expenses. 2 times 4,300, which if we go back to our head count, we see we have 2 folks here. We go to our expense driver sheet, we see that the rate is 4,300. Notice there is no queue because this driver is getting the queue from another account value, and that account is Headcount Temp US. Okay, lastly, let's talk about attrition. So we have not done any planning for September yet. Remember, the notional headcount comes from your revenue drivers. So we've moved into September. We're looking at this same driver. It's called accounts, and we still expect a quantity of 1,000, but there's been some software improvements, and now our quantity per FTE is 100, which should suggest a smaller notional headcount. So I'm going to submit the form and then initiate a calculation. Okay, our calculation is completed. So let's go over to our headcount sheet, do a refresh. Notice September notional is empty. And there we go. The system is now suggesting we only need 10 heads, which is a little bit less than the prior month. So actually, it's less than the prior month, but our ending head count is currently 110. So the system is suggesting we need to reduce 100 heads, and I'm going to show you how to do that now. Now, one of the rules of reducing heads in Hyperion is they need to exist first. So I'm going to unhide the prior month head count, which will show us where our heads are, and we need to reduce 100, so this is going to take some effort. All right, we've got 38 D2s, so I'm making notes, and 38 D3s. So I just added a little color to help my eyesight, so we see where we have actual heads. If we try to set attrition on a head count on a job code that doesn't have any heads, the attrition will be reversed when we do a calculation. And sliding on down, there are our 2 US temp headcount. Okay, now that I know where my heads are, I'm going to come down here to the Adjust Attrition section and unhide the rows and go to the proper job category. So we have D2s, 3s, and 4s. Now the number of attrition you put in is a judgment management decision. You don't have to do what notional says. The system will still work if you don't. But we're going to get our number down close. And let's see, D5s, we have 32, we'll just say 30. And we'll come down, and here's our US temp. We'll just attrit 1 so we can see the effect on the expenses. As always, when you make changes, submit your data. That puts it on the server. So submitting the data is necessary. Before you run your calculation, it's also good to check your work. So I overdid it. Notice that ending head count is -6. If I submitted this for calculations, it would probably be reversed and weird things would happen. Why did I make this mistake? I forgot about the calculated attrition. Remember, we have a 13% attrition rate per job code. So 13% of the D5s, 4s, 3s were considered to be reduced through attrition. So now I can change my adjusted headcount, I'm sorry, my adjusted attrition rate so that we're not in the negative. So to make these adjustments, I'm going to unhide my calculated attrition. I'm sorry, my attrition adjustment section. Slide back over to September 2017. And we will reduce our attrition by 16, which should get us to our notional headcount of 10. Okay, I submit the data. My ending headcount is now 10, and I'm going to calculate the results. Our calculation is complete, so let's see the financial impact of what we just did. Oops. Go to our adjustment screen. Okay, remember we have these really big wage amounts. Let's refresh this web form. And we see the impact, on our change, from our headcount change. We see a dramatic reduction in wages and salaries and benefits. So tying it all out, our headcount is suggested by our revenue drivers. We have a nice web form here that shows us the suggested headcount total here, as well as our actuals by job code. You make your decisions by either adjusting hires or adjusting attrition. Hit a calculation, and you see the financial results right here. Now I am a little surprised that my temporary expenses are 0 for the month of September. We left one head in there, so let's see what's going on. Okay, our temp heads, okay, there he is. We still have our one US temp. Let's check our expense driver. It's still here. But I see the problem. I did not put the rate in the following month. Now in real life, you would probably do something like this, and that's why my temp expenses were 0. I had nothing here, so the system's working as designed. Thanks for listening, and good luck with your headcount.